It's your boy. So I stop by on Saturdays always to check out the cards because, I trade cards for wax. And, that's a whole other show I'll do about ripping and how it goes back to your childhood and ripping presents and why it's so much fun in it. It's new to me. No money invested in it yet. But we're going to talk about how Christmas was in Ozone Park. So in Ozone Park, we had the pathmark and the clock tower. The clock tower was, deemed, whatever it's called, after 100 years, Couldn't knock it down, couldn't do this, couldn't do that. But for years, a family passed down from one generation to the next had Christmas trees up against the wall outside. So when the father passed, I started at 14 years old. I was a freshman in high school. I met this redheaded Irish kid, happened to be one of the only other white kids, and he seen me walking in the hallways of Franklin K. Lane, and Lane was really bad at this time. And he told me, hey, do you know where you're going? I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, listen, we all hang out. So all the white kids stood at the third floor staircase on the, I think it was the north end of the building. The building was huge, 5,000 kids at the time. So Black Friday used to be a big deal. Stores would open at 7 a.m. Some people got killed, stampedes. You used to hear crazy shit on the news. But that's when all the Christmas stands opened. So when I was 14, he never liked to cut out. He would do all his classes and then go home. School, you didn't have to take lunch. If you played sports out of school, you got credit for gym. This high school, I thought it ran things the way it was supposed to be run. It was just a terrible high school. So this one day he wants to leave early. And he's like, make sure you wear, bad clothes. Well, I only owned bad clothes at the time, but I had worse than bad. I wasn't dressed right. It was the day after Thanksgiving. We're off now. We leave school, I think, on a Wednesday, that Thanksgiving Eve. So we don't have to cut out. But we wind up cutting out after that to help at the tree stand. But up to this point, we haven't cut out of school yet. So we go there Black Friday. He calls me up. I meet him there. I was actually living in Woodhaven at the time. I just moved out of City Line. And I see a trailer, semi. And I go, what's this? He goes, well, my friend here, Larry, he owns these trees. And I was like, I always wondered who had these trees here, But I was young, so I really didn't go to that end that much. But it was the largest tree stand in probably Queens. They had to have 4,000 or 5,000 trees. That's how long this building was. So we unloaded the trees and we got paid by the hour. Now, this specific tree stand, you had to start out as a tire before you could get paid an hourly pay. So the tires, they kind of like running at lunch. The baler needs, tree tie, stand the trees back up, separate the trees, pull out the better ones. They had to do a lot of grunt work and they didn't get paid for it, but they did make more money than salesmen. So the salesmen, they had a very perfect system for a tree stand. It's crazy, but it was a multi-million-dollar business for them. So I started out automatically as a salesman, and it became natural to me. I was selling trees, triple the price. But back then, Ozone Park was Ozone Park. You know what I mean? Paul Varga from Goodfellas, his sister-in-law used to come. A lot of wise would come, and none of them would ever get charged. So they would always over-tip. As a salesman, we never took the tips. We would give them away. I mean, you can make on a bad day $200. That's not bad for a young kid, right? But we were making like $15 an hour, which was huge. I remember getting my working papers in middle school. I think it was like $3.55 or $2.55 an hour was minimum wage. So I started on Black Friday and I worked all the way through. Now, the thing was, he had a gimmick. Everybody had to show up the day after Christmas or Christmas morning. It was. So he had a family member who owned a landscaping business and would come with a tree chopper and use all the old trees as mulch. So everybody had to be there just to pitch in, and then you would get paid. So you wouldn't get paid before Christmas, you wouldn't get paid going into Christmas Eve, because you sold up till Christmas Eve. You get paid either Christmas morning or the day after Christmas or that week. So it was always good to be a salesman because you got all your money at once. Tires would get their money right then and there. On the weekends you could make $400 or $500 in tips. Some of them made some good money. I remember a weekend there was a lot of salesmen, and I wound up tying. I think I made $1,000. So it was a really good business. So all throughout my first 2 years of high school, I work. He did Easter stands, Valentine's Day stands, he did everything at this point. He went on to take over the building. Now he's got the largest Christmas store, and then he did something else on the second floor, and then the third floor. It was a landmark. You know what I mean? They declared the building a landmark, so it could never be torn down. So he just kept fixing it up little by little with cheap wages, and it blew up. So at 16, I'm already hanging out at 88 Park, and I had this very good friend, Dougie. God rest his soul. Dougie wound up getting murdered in 94. He was in a fight. He was getting the best of the kid. He pulled out a knife, stabbed him like a punk, and killed him. Dougie was running around. He bled out. Jamaica Hospital. He never made it through. But I knew Dougie from my City Line days, and then I knew Dougie from Mr. G's, and then eventually when I went to 88 Park. Dougie would sell bootleg polo sweatshirts, but they looked like the real deal. So back then, it was 92, and the polo bear just came out. So polo was huge and expensive. So, everybody in the park was walking around with polo crew necks and polo 3 buttons, but we didn't wear those at the time. So I had every color polo crew neck. I felt like the man. Dougie was a really good guy. On top of being a great football player, an unbelievable baseball player, he probably could have got scholarship anywhere. I'm pretty sure he did, but he was a hustler. And everybody loved Dougie. I didn't know anybody who disliked Dougie. So he has an idea, and I know Dougie for many years, and another Irish friend of ours, which knows him for a long time. So he says, what we're going to do? We're going to open up our own Christmas tree stand. And it's about 3 blocks away from where this huge Christmas tree stand is. But you got to remember, 88 Park is ours. And the local candy store on 88 7th Street that they cooked in the back was ours as well. So these are you remember the best times of my life. These guys would have told me to jump off a building. I would have jumped off a building for them. That's how much respect I have for the older guys at 88 Park. They really had their claws in me. And the one thing that they told me to do, and I kind of seen a little bit shadiness in the older guys towards me a little bit, so I kind of didn't go with it, was to stay away from the guys in Cosa Nostra. Just to always warn me off of them. Get closer to fire, but don't burn your hand. And even if you, want to do that, they used to advise me against it all the time. They're like, you can earn money, you got your own reputation, you got your own name in the streets, you don't need to be with them. But this was something I thought was a birthright. Being Sicilian, watching it grow up around me. So I didn't take their advice on that. If I was a little bit younger, I would have, because at 14, 15, 16, there's nothing I would have did. These guys were all 15, 16, 10, 12 years older than me, and they told me to fight, I fought. We went to clubs, bars. I was always the youngest, never had a problem. They'd get me in, I'd brawl with them, I'd fight with them, because wherever they went, they fought. They're the guys that people made up the sayings. We would show up to fight, and a football game would break out. And it would go the same with softball. So we played softball, we played football. Football was 2-3 times a week. Softball in the summertime was like 4 times a week. And if you went down with the kids from 88 Park, you were guaranteed to get into a fight. We played in South Jamaica and St. Albans. We played in, certain parts of Astoria. We played in, Middle Village and Maspeth. And it was always kids from 88 Park come down to fight, and the softball game happens to break out instead of it being the other way around, because that's what we were known for. So I would have did anything. So Dougie's like, this is just what we're going to do this year. If he got the van, and me and you, we could run the tree stand. Everything about, everything about the tree lot now. I knew, more than everybody else to get the tree stand off. So we needed a distributor. So they're looking for a distributor. They don't get one. Now everything starts the day after Thanksgiving. Nowadays, everything starts sooner. And that's when the neighbor was the neighborhood. This was the 90s. So Dougie was like, so what we got to do? The one guy we seen We were doing like every tree $25. Wanted like $19 a tree. And then wanted some up front or a week after. So it's 4 weeks of selling trees, and nobody's going for any money. So Dougie's like, you know what we do? Some tree stands aren't 24 hours, and the ones that are big, and we can steal them. Now, I wasn't big on stealing at all, but this seemed pretty cool. So what'd we do? We'd go out at night. Somebody would watch the stand. The first night, we all went out when they were getting their deliveries. So as they were unloading all night long, all the tree stands, Black Friday, we were loading our van up, 20, 30 trees a night. That was the first night to get the tree stand started. So that Saturday, we had about 20, 30 trees, every tree $25. Doing pretty good. Somebody comes, sit at the lot. Next night, me, Doug, and my boy with the van would go out. One night, we climbed over train tracks to get to this tree stand and pull them up from the trestle, because it was in like a closed car lot, and we got them for like, we were throwing them over the train tracks to get down to where the van was parked. I think we got 20 out of them. It was tough. Trees, thank God they're wrapped, because when they're unwrapped, it's insane. And we were just pumping along. I'm 16 years old and I'm loving it, you know? And every night we would go out and do that. But the only two people that really worked the stand after we got enough trees was me and Dougie. He can never be counted on. So I'm there 7 a.m. I relieve him. He's supposed to come, you know, we're splitting 12 and 12. Right? Our other friend is taking care of the van. Van's got no heat. We're sitting in the van. So I'm out there. I'm in a Sherlin. Brand new Sherlin that I had packed away. I didn't want to wear. It was my grail. It's all I had. It was the best thing I had at this point. And freezing. I don't know how. I look at today, I go outside, it's 36, 42 degrees. I want to run back inside. And I was spending 14, 15 hours a day out in that cold, selling every tree for $25. It's insane. You know, I should have just stuck with working at the Pathmark tree stand, because the Clock Tower tree stand, really, because got paid hourly, inside a warm, you know, he would always get like a, you know, like this, it wasn't a trailer, but it was like a wooden thing, but we always had a heat lamp in the middle. So you go inside, you warm up. If customers come, you go out there, you sell them a tree, you scream tire comes and ties it. And I used to run the day shift. It was beautiful. Come 7 in the morning, put 8 hours in. On the weekends, work double shifts. It was great, you know, trusted me. I ran the money. Nothing ever came up short. And all the kids that I hung out with that were my age worked there. You know, everyone else I really hung out with were older than me. And what people don't understand is, at that tree stand, everybody came. Guys from Howard Beach, Woodhaven, Richmond Hill, Long Island. It was the largest tree stand that you could find. It had everything. Douglas Fir, Fraser Fir. I could go through all trees. But I had a dynamite weed business at the time. And then I actually went back to work there a few years later, because I got into coke business, and I said, you know what? I'm not gonna sell weight. I'll sell 8 balls in grams. And I did phenomenal. I didn't even have to get paid for Christmas. Just everybody knew where to find me. I was working double. I said, why you guys, you don't like being here this long. I was working double shifts every day. I was like, you guys don't even gotta pay me. It was just insane of having a spot. Now I understand how guys in Brooklyn who had weed spots and 20-bag spots and coke spots and Norwood and Fulton, you had that 20-bag coke spot back in the day, in the 80s and 90s, and how to get rich. You're in one spot and you don't get pinched, and guys could just come and know that you're there all the time. That's how you made money in the 90s. But I never wanted to be just stationed in one place. But it was good. So getting back to the story, I wound up being there 15, 16 hours a day because Dougie was never on time. And then he would work the overnight shift, and he would just fall asleep in his car and leave the trees, didn't care. Stealing them all. We didn't pay for one. So now I'm out there freezing nothing to warm up on. We beefed with other tree stands. We beefed with the tree stand I worked for. We beefed with everybody about trees. Everybody was missing trees. 30 trees a night. We were getting everybody. So everything's profit. We don't got a tree tire, like a time machine where you put the trees to. We were just tying it right to the roofs. We were keeping the tips. Just mad house this was. So one night, I'm not told this, but a local bookmaker comes around. All his brothers are wise guys. He eventually becomes a wise guy, but so he's got in that, good reputation for that time because of his brothers. And Doug, he was a big gambler and owed him money. And he was throwing a fit. I want to go with this guy, that guy. And it was like, all right, whatever. Doug used to work his card game. He had a card game in East New York or whatever. I don't know. But in the midst of this, they went and got all the money from the trees and paid this guy for Dougie. That was the story. I had no idea. I wasn't there. But I have no idea about this. So we sell out Christmas Eve. Done. I go to our other friend's house because he was the trusted one with the money. And 4 weeks, 15, 16 hours a day, all profit, no trees paid for, $500. Handed me $500, gave me a kiss, said Merry Christmas, and sent me on my way. Now, I didn't sell drugs at this Christmas tree stand because they found out about it, they'd give me a beating. So there was no drug game going on, there was no earning going on, and $500 for 4 weeks of work, 14, 15 hours a day, freezing your nuts off. That's not good. That's not good at all. So I don't say nothing. They're older, that they gave me the name, Cutie Hootie. They were tough guys. So it's like, if I go in the room and say something, I might catch a bad beating. I'm 16, I'm feeling my own. And our friend Louis says to me, you know what happened with Christmas, right? And I'm like, I'm wondering, because I was going to ask. I'm like, I make $500 a day usually during Christmas. I said, I never made $500 in 4 weeks working Christmas. He went, nah. Dougie had a big gambling debt, and they took all the tree money and paid the bookmaker. I was like, never again. Never again. We beefed with everybody. Everything was 100% profit, and I ended up with $125 a week at 14, 15 hours a day. So this was the tree stand, you know what I mean? And working at the clock tower, the girls knew to go there and hang out because that's where all the guys were. People were looking to get high went there. So that was really the spot, And freshman year when I meet this redheaded Irish kid, we're not friends to this day. He drank the Kool-Aid like most of the people did. But it was like a really good time. It wasn't moving weight. It was moving little bits, little amounts, making a lot of money, learning sales techniques on your own, and hard work and cold, and you did meet a lot of girls, and you met a lot of people, and you met, you seen wise guys there, and it was part of showing people that you can get out there and you're not just a little punk in the neighborhood. And it's not like that anymore. It's not like that anymore. And that's what we did. And it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I passed by the other night. It was all new people. I know that all the guys that worked there for years work inside now. My boy Rob, too, God rest his soul, died a few years ago. He used to work the night shift there. I love that kid. When I left, and, he wound up taking over a little business. He was making a little money on the side. And that's how the tree stands were. And I've tried stands after that to do with, my crew. When I wind up getting with them, I really stopped messing with, the clock tower, because he was actually with another wise guy. And never made it the way this family did, the Greeno family. They did it right. Second generation right now. I'm sure he's raising his kids to do it because it's a multi-million-dollar business. And now he has inside, heard all 3 floors. And usually there's like 5,000 trees out there. There couldn't have been more than 1,500 when I passed the other night. So I'm sure inside's doing amazing. And that's where it all started. That's when I went to work at Javits Center, wanted to be a Teamster, had my working papers, and everything went from there, and just meeting people, and that was Christmas time, and that's what we did, and it was crazy, it was nuts, and used to being broke for Christmas, used to not getting what you wanted, but then there was times when you were loaded up, you know what I mean? So we experienced both. So people like, how do you survive here? Or, how do you live like this? It's, well, you know what? I'm like a chameleon. You adapt to your environment. I remember being broke. I remember having good things. I remember not having good things. So If I got to go a year without, I go a year without. I'm not a big celebrator in the holiday. Probably the only time you do get me in church is for midnight mass. Other than that, whatever you celebrate, God bless you. It doesn't matter. But other than that, it was just the holiday season was good. Bananos did throw the best Christmas parties. I know Joey Molino had a great Christmas party. We had an amazing Christmas Eve in my crew. A few other guys threw big parties. And that was the Christmas in the streets. Cosa Nostra, everything. It was just the life. And Y2K came and ended it all. So just to give you a little insight into part of being in the streets. You sold Christmas trees, you worked for tips, you sold drugs at the Christmas tree stand, you stole Christmas trees. It was a different world back then. A different world. And everybody fought against everybody. So enjoy your holidays, and I hope you enjoy the video. Stay safe, stay up, and Jindan.